She gave her last $20 to a stranger. Thank you, child. This means everything. Not long after, that stranger's grandson asked for her hand in marriage. Will you marry me? But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Leela had felt invisible for months on end. Not literally, of course. She arrived every morning at Lux and Stone, the most exclusive jewelry boutique in downtown Atlanta. She polished the gleaming cases until they shone, arranged the diamond displays with careful hands, and offered smiles to customers who looked straight through her as if she were made of glass. From her very first week, her manager Monica had made one thing perfectly clear. Leela was not there to sell. She was there to run errands, dry cleaning, coffee runs, vault cleaning, whatever Monica didn't feel like doing herself. And every time Leela somehow managed to close a sale anyway, Monica found a reason to steer the commission to one of the senior associates. Paperwork error, client reassignment, whatever excuse fit the day, the senior staff had a name for her behind her back. The placeholder. Leela knew. She couldn't bring herself to quit. She needed the job to pay her rent. One morning began like every other, slow, cold, and quietly humiliating. Leela was rearranging a tray of diamond chokers when the front door opened. An elderly woman stepped inside, moving with the deliberate care of someone whose joints protested every step. Her coat was thin and worn, her sneakers cracked at the toes, and a faded headscarf covered her hair. She looked as though she had taken 3 buses to get here and still wasn't sure she had the right address. The senior associates exchanged glances. One of them, Sienna, stepped forward before the woman had even reached the display cases. "Can I help you?" The words were polite. The tone was not. "I just want to look around," the elderly woman said softly. Monica appeared from the back like she had been summoned, heels clicking, perfume arriving before she did. She looked the woman up and down the way one might study a bug she was deciding whether to step on. "This isn't that kind of store," she said. "Excuse me, but we serve high-end clients. You'd be more comfortable somewhere else." The room laughed, not loudly, just enough for the sound to sting. Leela felt something tighten in her chest. She set down the tray, walked across the floor, and touched the elderly woman's arm with gentle fingers. "Can I get you some water?" The room went quiet in a different way. The elderly woman looked at Leela as if she hadn't expected kindness, as if it was something she had stopped waiting for. "That would be nice," she said. Leela brought her water and found her a chair near the side wall. She sat with her, ignoring the whispers, and smiled. "Take your time. There's no rush." The elderly woman's hand rested lightly over Leela's. Her skin was soft and dry and full of years. "Good things find good people," she said quietly. "Remember that." Leela didn't know why those words landed so heavily in her chest. She only nodded. Then the elderly woman straightened in her chair and said something that changed everything. "I'd like to see 10 luxury sets. Your finest ones. Full sets, necklace, earrings, bracelet, ring." Leela blinked. 10? "The best you have." For nearly an hour Leela worked, matching stones, checking settings, bringing down the velvet trays from the highest shelves. She moved with care and intention, the way she always did when something mattered. The senior staff watched from a distance like spectators at a spectacle they expected to collapse. "She's actually doing it," Sienna whispered. "Let her," someone else said. "It'll be funnier when it falls apart." Monica stood with her arms crossed, wearing the small smile Leela had learned to hate. when Leela laid out the final selection, 10 complete sets, each one more stunning than the last. The elderly woman clasped her hands together. "I'll take all of them." The room seemed to tilt. Leela exhaled, barely able to keep the smile from her face. "That comes to $240,000. Dead silence. Then laughter. "Oh my God," Sienna said, covering her mouth. The elderly woman patted her pockets, checked her coat, and looked up with a gentle sigh. "I don't have my card on me, dear. My grandson has it. I'll need to reach him." The laughter came harder this time. No longer hidden behind hands, Monica walked forward slowly, savoring every step. She stopped in front of Leela, close enough that Leela could smell her perfume. "You really thought she could afford this?" It wasn't a question. Leela turned to the elderly woman. "It's okay. Don't be embarrassed." The elderly woman met her eyes with calm, clear steadiness. "I'm not embarrassed, dear. My grandson will come. I just need a moment." "A moment?" Monica laughed. "Honey, you don't have a grandson with that kind of money. And even if you did, he wouldn't be picking you up from a jewelry store in those shoes." She waved toward the door. "Security can walk you out." The elderly woman stood slowly, with no hurry and no tears. She simply looked at Monica for a long moment, then turned her gaze to Leela. Leela reached into her bag and pulled out her last $20, the emergency money she had been carrying. She pressed it into the elderly woman's hand. "For a cab, please." The elderly woman stared at the bill. Her fingers closed around it. When she looked up, her eyes were bright. "You are a rare kind of person, Leela." Monica's voice cut through the moment like a blade. "That's it. You brought a beggar into my store, wasted an hour of company time, and now you're giving away money like this as a charity. Get your things. You're fired." Leela picked up her bag. She didn't cry. She didn't argue. She walked out into the Atlanta afternoon and stood on the sidewalk, blinking in the sunlight with no job, no plan, and an empty wallet. She didn't see what the elderly woman did behind her, but the elderly woman was smiling. The estate lay 40 minutes outside the city. The cab driver had gone quiet when they pulled up to the gates. He kept glancing in the rearview mirror. Inside, everything was marble and light paintings that belonged in museums, a silence that money had bought and kept. Reed stood in the center of the living room when she walked in. 29 years old, CEO of Crest Holdings, one of the largest private equity groups in the Southeast. He had been on 3 magazine covers in the past year. He looked tall, focused, the kind of quiet that meant he was always thinking. "Grandma." His voice shifted when he saw her face. Something careful left it. "Where have you been?" She told him all of it: the store, the girls, Monica, and Leela, the one who brought her water, who sat with her, who gave away her last $20 without knowing who she was giving it to. By the time she finished, Reed's jaw was tight. "Which store?" "Lux and Stone." He was already reaching for his phone. "That's one of ours." His grandmother raised one finger. "The girl first." They watched the security footage. Reed viewed it twice without saying a word. Then he leaned back in his chair, eyes still on the screen, and stayed still for a long moment. He had reviewed thousands of hours of business footage, analytics, performance reviews, boardroom recordings. He had never watched someone give away their last $20. "Find her," he said. His assistant Marcus hesitated. "Sir." That same afternoon, Leela was sitting on a bus bench, scrolling through job listings she couldn't afford to be picky about, when the black SUV pulled up. The window came down. A man in a fitted suit looked at her. Miss Leela? She stood up slowly. Who's asking? My name is Marcus. I'm the personal assistant to Reed Crest, CEO of Crest Holdings. A pause. The woman you helped this afternoon is his grandmother. He'd like to meet you. Leela stared at him. She knew the name. Everyone in Atlanta knew it. Crest Holdings owned half the commercial real estate downtown and several hotel chains. Her stomach dropped. Lux and Stone was one of theirs. She had just been fired from a store owned by the grandson of the woman she had tried to help. This had to be a trap. She got in anyway. The house did something to her. Not the size, not the art. It was the stillness of it. The way the air inside felt different, like nothing urgent had ever happened here. And then she saw him at the top of the stairs. She recognized him from the magazines, but photographs hadn't gotten it right. In person he had a weight to him, a gravitational pull, as if every room he stood in had been waiting for him to arrive. Leela. His voice was even. I'm Reed. I know who you are, she said, then felt embarrassed for saying it. His grandmother appeared from a side hallway, arms open. You came. Something in Leela loosened. You live here? I do. The elderly woman laughed, squeezing her hands. Not as poor as I looked, am I? Reed watched the two of them. He had a still face, hard to read, but something moved in it just for a second. His grandmother turned to him and said simply, She's the one. Leela laughed nervously. That's not I don't we just met. She looked at Reed to laugh with her. He wasn't laughing. He was just looking at her. Calm, steady, serious. Her heart did something she hadn't given it permission to do. She stayed for several days, and before long a week had passed. She meant to leave, but his grandmother kept finding reasons to need her around. Then Reed offered her a job, personal assistant at Crest Holdings headquarters, competitive salary, full benefits, direct report to him. She said no. He asked why. Because I don't want to owe you anything, she said, and I don't want people thinking I got here because of who you are. He looked at her for a long moment. You'd be turning down the highest paying car role in the company. I know. Another long pause. All right, he said. Then earn it. Interview tomorrow. My HR team. No favors. She showed up at 8. She left at 11. She got the job. She didn't see Vivian until her third day at Crest. Vivian arrived the way beautiful, dangerous women always arrive in stories like this, perfectly dressed, loud heels, radiating the specific energy of someone who has already decided to hate you. She was a senior director at the company. She had been attached to Reed's name in gossip columns for 2 years. She looked at Leela the way Monica had looked at the elderly woman in the store. Leela felt the recognition of it like a cold hand on her neck. And you are? Vivian asked. Reed's new pa, Leela said. Vivian smiled. It didn't reach anything. How convenient. It started small. A whisper here, a rumor there. By the end of the first couple of weeks, half the company had heard that Leela had slept her way into the position, that she was a con artist, that she had targeted Reed's grandmother deliberately. Leela kept her head down. She worked. She showed up early and left late. Reed heard the rumors early on. He called a company-wide meeting. He stood at the head of the conference table and let the room settle. Then he said quietly and clearly, Leela has her position because she earned it in a process. Every one of you can verify with our. She also happens To be the person who gave her last $20 to my grandmother when everyone else laughed at her. He paused. Anyone who has a problem with that should bring it to me directly. Otherwise, we're done with this conversation. Nobody spoke. Vivian's face was stone. Leela sat very still and felt, for the first time in years, like someone had put a wall between her and the world. This is where the story should have gotten easier. It didn't. Vivian had one card left. She used it. She went to Reed's mother. Evelyn Crest flew in from Charlotte shortly afterward. She was everything you'd expect: composed, aristocratic, and absolutely convinced that she could see through people in 30 seconds. She looked at Leela and saw a threat. That evening, she appeared at Leela's apartment door. She sat down across from her. She placed a check on the table. $500,000. Leave, Evelyn said. Not the job. Leave my son's life. Take this. Start over somewhere else. I'll make sure no one interferes. Leela looked at the check for a long time. Then she picked it up and tore it in two. I love your son, she said quietly. I didn't plan to, but I do. And I'm not going to take money to walk away from something real. Evelyn stared at her. A long, measuring silence. Then she stood, smoothed her jacket, and left without another word. The frame-up came from Vivian. A missing watch, $40,000 found in Leela's desk drawer by the cleaning crew. Conveniently, on a day when Vivian was the last senior person in the building, the call came one afternoon. Security at her apartment door. Reed's assistant on the phone. Come in immediately. She walked into Crest Holdings' lobby and felt every eye. Evelyn was there. Vivian, arms crossed, expression arranged into careful concern. A representative from legal. We found the watch, Leela, Vivian said softly. I'm so sorry. Leela felt the room tilt. She thought about every version of this moment she had already lived: the jewelry store, the campus jobs she'd worked to pay for school, every place where someone had decided she was less than before she opened her mouth. She thought about walking out, then Reed walked in. He didn't look at Vivian. He didn't look at his mother. He looked at Leela. I need everyone to give us the room, he said. He had the footage. He'd pulled it himself the night before when something hadn't felt right. Vivian, entering Leela's office late at night. Vivian, leaving a short while later. The watch entering a desk drawer in between. He showed it to the room 20 minutes later. All of them. His mother, legal, the senior staff. Vivian's face went the color of paper. She tried. That's not the angle, doesn't show Vivian. Reed's voice was flat. Don't. Security walked her out. Evelyn found Leela sitting alone in the small garden behind the estate that evening. She sat down beside her without being invited. They were quiet for a while. I was wrong about you, Evelyn said finally. I've been wrong before. It doesn't happen often, so I'm not good at it. A pause. I tore a woman down because I was scared of what she represented. I know what that looks like now. Leela looked at her. My son loves you, Evelyn said. That should have been enough for me from the start. He proposed one evening. No production, no crowd. Just the two of them on the rooftop of Crest headquarters as dusk settled over the city. A small velvet box in his hand. You gave a stranger your last $20, he said. And then you turned down $500,000 to stay. I've never met anyone like you, Leela. He opened the box. I don't want to spend the rest of my life without you in it. She said yes before he finished the sentence. Months later, Monica found out the way everyone in Atlanta found out. The engagement announcement ran in the papers. Reed Crest, CEO of Crest Holdings, engaged to Leela. The same Leela. Monica was at Lux and Stone when her phone lit up. She read the headline. Read it again. Set her phone face down on the counter. Picked it up. Read it again. Then she got a second notification. Crest Holdings had conducted an internal review of Lux and Stone management practices. Effective immediately, the store manager position was vacant. She had been fired by the man whose grandmother she'd thrown out. The store fell quiet. Everyone remembered what the elderly woman had said on her way out the door. Kindness is more valuable than expensive diamonds. They hadn't believed her in the year that followed their wedding. Leela opened the Groundwork Center, a nonprofit that connected people in career transition with paid apprenticeships in skilled trades and business. On opening day, she stood at a podium in front of 300 people and said, "I know what it feels like when a room decides you're nothing before you speak. I want this to be the place where that stops." In the front row sat Reed's grandmother, still in her worn headscarf, clapping harder than anyone. Beside her sat Evelyn, who had become, quietly and genuinely, someone Leela trusted. And beside Evelyn sat Reed, watching his wife like she was the most important thing in any room she walked into, because she was. The elderly woman had known at the moment Leela pressed that $20 bill into her hand. Some people show you who they are when they think no one is watching. That's the only moment that counts.